Hey guys, how's it going? Today I wanted to talk about the subject of should plastics be banned? Well, it's very difficult to have a 100% yes and no answer because basically plastics are very easy to produce, plastic objects and stuff like that. And I think as long as they're not being thrown in the ocean, they can be practical. Obviously, I do think that we should ban plastic bags in supermarkets and stores because obviously they have a one-time use and then they are pretty directly either used as trash and then thrown into the real dumpster, or they are just simply used once and thrown away. That's the big problem, is that if you were to use these plastic bags wisely and use them over and over and over again, we'd be using much less of that plastic and then it wouldn't actually be going in the ocean. But the problem too is that it's non-biodegradable, so plastics are just non-biodegradable, and it takes thousands and thousands of years for a plastic to actually dissolve itself, we'll say. But now, of course, we use plastics for many other items. We use them for everything pretty much. Trash cans, plastic spoons, plastic knives. We use it for plastics in cars. We use it to make toys. We use it to make consoles, computers. Everything has plastic. But I do think that those have another kind of use. So basically, since these things are generally being used for a long time, or not even ever thrown away, that's like better in a way to use those, because then I think plastic is not too bad because it's not going to go in the trash. But of course, the thing is that of course that if you're going to just make like a dish at home and you're going to have your disposable forks, spoons, knives and stuff like that, and it's only used once, then that becomes pretty bad. Because the problem is that once again it goes into the ocean because it gets thrown, and once it's thrown they put it in the ocean, and then we have a problem because fish will try to eat it, and obviously it's going to pollute also the oceans pretty much, and the land and all that stuff. But we do live in a consumer society, especially in a lot of the Western worlds and stuff like that, and we are not used to using stuff over and over again. But even in a fast food place, I would say that they should probably switch to something more biodegradable. For example, I saw that they can create a plastic made out of algae, seaweed basically, and that's 100% biodegradable, and it's actually also edible by the fish and stuff like that. So yes, you can make plastics, but it depends on how you make them. Now, of course, for example, they have a lot of plastic straws, and even just in general, we tend to really consume a lot and destroy a lot, and it goes even further than plastics. It would go into like paper plates and wooden chopsticks and napkins and toilet paper and all that other stuff. I think we still need these things, but we need to find ways that, okay, you can make, we'll say, a straw, but then you got to make it either out of paper, which is also still not ideal because you're basically cutting trees and if you look at a lot of the documentaries in the news and stuff like that, we have a big problem in places such as the Amazon and other big forests where also their trees are getting chopped at a faster rate than they can grow, if that makes sense. And now they're saying that, for example, if they used, in the place of regular trees, they would use maybe bamboo, which grows super fast. They'd be able to actually cut paper and have trees grow faster than if it only had a regular tree being cut. And you can still make paper. And then there's also like apparently it's a little bit gross to talk about, but in some way it's cool. They found out that if they use elephant dung, they actually are able to make paper very, very easily, because apparently a lot of the excrements have a lot of the fibers and stuff that can be easily transformed into paper. And if they do that, then it's kind of cool, because then you're kind of using something that's anyway an excrement, and of course you'd have to have a lot of excrement in order to make paper and stuff like that out of that. But I think it's kind of cool. Maybe there's actually other ways and other animals and other things like that that could just with their excrement make basically paper and stuff like that. But going back to plastics, I think we really need to find a point where we are able to find something that's more biodegradable, maybe like the seaweed and stuff like that. But also haven't really researched on how fast that grows, because then we'd have to also create basically farms for them. And it's kind of strange to think about it as a farm, but it is, because you're growing them and they are living in their own way, even if they are a weed, you know? It's like trees and all that stuff. They're living things. But I do think that if we can come up with a better solution, that would really help us. Now, the other problem is, of course, corporate companies. Because corporate companies, they just want to have profit. And even if they could, in the long run, benefit from doing it with algae and seaweed and stuff like that, they don't really want to maybe spend the money in the infrastructure, if that makes sense. Because in order for them to be able to start production in that way, they'd have to stop their regular production and build. I mean, they could still continue their regular production for a while, but either they'd have to convert it or at some point build a new facilities, and then they'd have to also basically shut down all the old machinery and stuff like that. And I'm sure that they don't feel like spending all that money. So in the long run, it kind of sucks, because it's possible to be done, but it's not going to be done because they don't want to spend the money in the infrastructure. And that's where the complication comes. But once again, I think it is very possible, and there's so many alternatives nowadays. But is it going to be mass adopted? Probably, eventually it will. But the thing is, kind of with humankind and the way that our society is working, I believe, and I strongly believe, that it's always at that point of almost no return that things will have to change. Because once that happens, and let's say if the earth is at that point where it's going to be destroyed, where there's not enough fish or there's not enough animals and stuff like that, then they're going to get the pressure from the governments and from the people and stuff like that. But it's kind of silly, because we already know that it's happening and it's inevitable, but we're waiting till the last minute in order to change things, and then it just creates chaos in some way. But anyways, that's all I have to say about the subject. Have a great day, and talk to you soon.